Throughout history, if you were mentally ill, it meant you'd be locked away, exorcised, or lobotomized. We've come a long way since then, with mental health awareness and support being everywhere. That said, it looks like we've overcorrected, because it's not worked. Instances of depression and anxiety keep on rising year after year. In this video, I'm going to be sharing some controversial opinions, so as a disclaimer, I'm just some guy, and if you're struggling, please go seek a medical professional or visit one of the links below. So, that said, why has all this happened? Why is it that despite all of this support, that we're the most fragile generation ever by all available metrics? Well, for the first time in human history, we're constantly exposed to the biggest, brightest, and most dramatic of what life has to offer. We see the best comedians, the craziest stunts, and the most horrific tragedies from across the globe. And because of this, if you want to get the same kind of recognition or attention as before, everything has to become exaggerated. You ever notice how no one's sad anymore? They're depressed. No one gets nervous now, they have anxiety, and no one's a little anal about things, they're OCD. The important thing here is that these are all very serious pathologies that people suffer with every day, but with our increased awareness of these terms, they've become bastardized to the point where they get watered down. It's just like the word Nazi. It used to mean one of these guys goose step into your door, but now it's come to describe anyone whose opinion you don't really like, or your uncle after he's finished his 5th beer. It's when we dilute these terms that it's not surprising that so many people start to use them to describe the way that they feel, even if it's not exactly accurate. But as it turns out, it's not just that people are misusing terms, but no, it's that the more we see this information, the sicker we seem to get. In 2018, researchers conducted a study where they showed subjects 1,000 dots on a screen and just asked them to say whether or not they were blue. At the beginning, most of them were, but as it went on, they introduced more purple dots as well as some others into the mix. But despite this, subjects continued to see the same number of blue dots as before. Essentially, their brain had come to expect a certain number, and so would backfill and morph what they were seeing in order to meet those expectations. They found the same effect when they asked subjects if a face was considered threatening or if a job proposal could be considered unethical. Time and time again, when primed with a large number of events, it caused people's brains to invent more outcomes to align with those expectations. We saw this firsthand during the pandemic when people posting about ADHD and Tourette's caused a massive uptick in incidents of students suddenly displaying symptoms. In psychology, this is referred to as the prevalence inflation hypothesis. Basically, as we see more and more people bragging on social media about their neurodivergence, our brains can move the goalposts, causing some people to believe they have disorders when they don't, and others to start to diagnose themselves. A perfect example of this is the YouTuber iDubbbz when he held his white collar boxing event Creator Clash, where he boxed the fellow YouTuber Dr. Mike. He lost the match pretty convincingly, but after the event wrapped up, this is how he described the experience.
We did the fight, and then I went to bed. I got the shit kicked out of me by Dr. Mike, and then I went to bed, and then I woke up, the hotel was empty, and then I got on a flight and traveled 5 hours with my face completely swollen back to Seattle, and I was like, that was cool, that was so worth it. There was nothing, there was no processing my trauma, there was no talking to anyone and relating about the experience afterward. Everyone was gone.
I'm sorry, but having months to train for a white collar fight you organized, chose the opponent for, and brought in millions of dollars from is not trauma. You didn't go to war, you weren't severely abused. We need to chill out with these terms. We can't let the word trauma come to mean a thing that wasn't very fun. Or as Mark Manson says in his book Everything is Fucked, trauma used to mean an experience so severe the victim couldn't continue to function. Today, an unpleasant social encounter or a few offensive words are considered trauma and so necessitate safe spaces. This is the blue dot effect. The better things get, the more we perceive threats where there are none, and the more upset we become. And social media isn't the only culprit either. For decades, Disney movies and sitcoms have led us to believe that if we aren't happy all the time, it means there's something wrong with us. But emotions are just feedback. You get angry because you feel you or someone you know has been wronged, sadness when you've been deprived, and horny when Danny DeVito shows up at the party out of the blue. But that said, these are all just signals of how things are going. So yes, we should have the resources for those who need them. Yes, we shouldn't stigmatize mental health, but we also need to avoid pathologizing and medicating being human. Having shit days, experiencing negative emotions, and not feeling satisfied all the time is part of what it means to be a person. But things can get dangerous when you have a $150 billion industry that profits from you not knowing the difference. Like how in America, they have 4% of the world's population, but consume 80% of its painkillers. Or when you have con artists like Joe Dispenza convincing people that they're sick so he can charge thousands of dollars to cure them with positive vibes. It's worth remembering that there's so many people out there who are trying to make a profit off of you feeling horrible. But it's a tricky balance. Like, I mean, how are you supposed to know when people really need help and when people need to kind of pick themselves up? Well, I believe the answer lies in the 2011 book Anti-Fragile by Nassim Taleb. In it, he describes 3 ways in which a system can function, which applies to how we treat the issue today. First, you have a fragile system, which is kind of like a wine glass. You apply any kind of remote pressure to it and it's going to shatter. This is how we treat people today, by pathologizing any negative emotion or experience and trying to protect people with trigger warnings and safe spaces. But then you have a robust system, and this is more like a locked safe. You can beat it, you can drill it, you can shoot it, and it'll still be there, but it'll be damaged and disfigured. And this relates to how we used to treat people, the kind of keep calm and carry on mentality. But the problem here is that the people who need help end up getting abandoned or even abused. The final system proposed by Taleb is an anti-fragile system, or one which gains from stress and disorder. This would be like a giant redwood tree, where it can take punishment and adapt and grow stronger as a result. Think working out in the gym, or going through hardship in a healthy relationship. A little bit of stress can actually help the system rather than hurt it. This approach would mean encouraging people to be strong, to embrace or even lean into negative emotions, all while maintaining the support and guidance for those who, through no fault of their own, may come to need it. It means teaching people to pick themselves up when they fall down, but still supporting those who could do with a hand. And that's it. As I say, there's some links below for anyone who needs it, and as well as to Mark Manson's book, Everything is Fucked, because it heavily inspired this video. And that said, bye.
Oh, no, you don't. Oh, what are you doing? Stop. Why are you